We have two lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one. What does this quote mean to you?
It means that I think a lot of people behave as if they're going to live forever or they're going to get a second life, like in video games. And when you realize that you only have one life, one ride on this planet, you begin to take it a little bit more seriously. You begin to care a little bit less about what other people think. And you begin to dive deep and chase after what you really want out of this ride.
It's interesting because I've read your book probably 5 to 6 times in total. It's the one book that people keep telling me to read through because I am the exact opposite of everything that you describe in the book. I'm extremely frugal. I like saving money at all costs, and I like delaying gratification. For me, I get a lot of peace of mind knowing that like 30 years from now, I'll have enough versus living it up today.
Right. But is that a fear-based thinking or is that an optimized for fulfillment type thinking?
I would say probably 80% fear, 20% optimization.
Right. And so fear is a great thing that we have, right? It keeps us alive. It keeps us from eating bears or lions on the Serengeti when we were in tribe, right? And it prevents you from getting mugged or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't help you thrive. It only helps you survive. And you're surviving, right? But you're not thriving. And you're not thriving in probably one of the best periods of your life where you have your health and the ability to take advantage of everything that's around you. Whether you want to go heli skiing, swimming, etc., your health is not going to limit you. Your mental acuity is not going to limit you. If you wanted to go to school or college or spend money on that, your lung capacity isn't going to limit you. And so you are living in fear of something in the future and robbing yourself of your current life.
Your life has led you to have this very interesting philosophy around why you should spend money while you're young,
right,
instead of saving for the delayed gratification. For those unfamiliar, how did you make your money?
I started making money as a broker of commodities and then really made significant amounts of capital as a commodities trader in natural gas.
Google lists your net worth at over $100 million. And I just have to ask, like, are these Google estimates based in any sort of reality?
Not really. I mean, you can influence what the estimate is. You kind of don't want your net worth out there. Has it been north of $100 million? Yes, it has been.
Has it been? But with these tariffs recently,
it's going down.
Things have been than that.
Yeah.
I get smashed on days just like everybody else, right? Like it's going up and down. I'm like, oh, I have to spend less this year, or maybe a lot less from the next 5 years. Or I get to spend more, over the next 5 years or next year,
What's interesting is in your book, you say that you have to pick a time in your life where you want your net worth to be at its peak.
Correct.
And then after that, then your net worth should decline as you age, which is completely counterintuitive to a lot of people. They're like, you should always be growing. And as you're growing, you can always just continue scraping a little bit more off the top. Mm-hmm. What was your age that you picked that you wanted your net worth to be at its peak?
It's right about now. Right about now. And so that can change, right? Because it's your biological age, right? Like at the end, like if we could just do this simply, like the day before you died, you don't want your net worth going up, right? You want to spend everything you got. But unfortunately, your body decays. It doesn't just die, right? And so long before that, you'll be doing less things and have less use for money, right?
So in terms of your net worth, was this intentional to pick right now, or was this because the market was going up so rapidly that you couldn't spend?
It has nothing to do with market. It has to do with your biological age and your body decaying.
So how do you test this?
Like this is one of the hardest parts. Like this is reasons why it's not a strict formula. You have to understand, like there are people smoking, heavily overweight, etc. at 40 who should be spending like rock stars, right? And there are people who are 5 years older than me who are like, hey, you're actually still on plateau, right? Like they're running Ironmans, they're running marathons. They have the body of a 30-year-old, right? And they're able to do all the things, right? And so it's really based on like, how are my knees functioning? What's my lung function? Do I have cardiovascular disease? What's my lung capacity? What's my VO2 max? Am I able to go to Paris and walk 7 miles and really enjoy Paris? Or am I going to walk 1 mile? My mom, it's a lot of people have parents where it's hard to even get them on a plane for 10 hours. They don't need any money for traveling, do they? Right? Do they need that international ticket? No. Do they, so you can see the utility, their ability to convert their money into experiences or into fulfillment declines as you age, right? I'm just giving you a couple of examples. Mm-hmm. And that really depends on your biological age, not just the numerical year you were born. And so a lot of that is just, there's this whole quantified self crowd that, optimize for health, like the Gary Breckers and Peter Attia's and Hubermans of the world, et cetera, which Peter Attia is my doctor. We do all the stats, et cetera. And I'm like, okay, I'm a bad boy. Yes, I should be doing more cardio. But given where I am, this is kind of the things I'll be able to do over the course of my life. And this is what the last 10 years of my life is going to look like.
So based on that, how long are you expected to live for?
I think I'm a 76 to 84 guy. 84 is probably what the charts would say.
I've heard for anyone who's under the age of 50 now that they could live past 100 with modern technology.
AI and medicine merging. And
yeah, could. And everybody with a biology textbook could get an A in biology, but that's not how it goes, does it? You know what I mean? Like these coulds are just like what is achievable, not what human beings do. Right? It's like, oh, why do some people get A's and why do some people flunk out? Right? Like they just don't.
Sure.
They're out of compliance, right? They don't do their homework. They have other priorities, etc.
Well, regardless of whatever Google says, you've done really well for yourself.
Correct.
Made a great living. When did you first become rich versus when did you start to feel rich?
I felt rich before I became rich. And I think it was around 25 when,
when you started feeling rich?
Oh, no, before that, like 22. As soon as I made more money than my mom, it was like the best day of my life.
You felt completely
Oh, my gosh. You couldn't have told me. I was like,
what sort of lifestyle? What sort of lifestyle?
And the funny thing is, I was still living at home with my mom, not paying rent. I was just about to move out to the pizza oven that I lived in with Jason Rufo.
Do you think you felt richer then or now?
Then, I mean, just the feeling of just the upward trajectory, the rate of change in my life was just so great, and going from straight broke to like $50-something thousand dollars.
So that's how much you made.
Something 40, 50, whatever the number is. I was like, oh, I'm a buppy. That stands for Black Urban Professional for those people who don't know.
Yeah,
There's yuppies and buppies. And I was just ecstatic. I had extra discretionary income. I could take a girl on a date. I could pay for it. Was the best feeling. I think it was like late 20s, 28, 29. I was rich. Millionaire.
So you made millions between the ages of 22 and 29.
Yes.
What did you do with the money?
I didn't really do much the first time. I didn't, I was so inculcated with the hive mind culture, right? I didn't know what to do. Go to Vegas, hang out with friends, go to bars, right? Like I didn't really think about what do I really want, right? I was advertised a lifestyle that I thought I wanted, and I followed that, right? And I was also very obsessed with natural gas trading back then. I golfed. I hung out with other traders. I went to Vegas. I chased girls. I did those things.
Why natural gas over anything else you could be trading?
I think, I serendipitously was a peon on the New York Mercantile Exchange, and the natural gas contract was just starting then. And I looked into it, and I was like, this is the future. New commodity, not that many people into it. Place where there was legacy crude oil traders, right? And this growing efficient fuel was the wave. And I was like, oh, this is where I want to go. And I could, in theory, make a bunch of money.
And when did your perspective on money begin to shift?
There was a book called Your Money or Your Life. You probably read
Vicky.
it. That completely changed my view of money and what money is. And so if you've read the book, you know that one of the definitions they use that they say holds up all the time is money is something you exchange your time for, right? You change your life. So there's a lot of what I think are didactic exercises, very painful, but you go through them and then you have a visceral understanding of spending your time for money, right? They ask you to count every single nickel and penny that comes into your life, then count every single hour and minute you used in order to achieve that money, right? Take the taxes out and there's your net true hourly wage. And you've done that, right? You've done that painfully for a period of time. And then after that, you get rid of the dollar signs and it just becomes hours. So whatever you buy is in hours or minutes of your life. And you do that for a while and you go, holy, you really get in touch with your values, right?
See, I did that exact same thing. I must have read that book when I was 14 or 15 years old. And I started looking at every single purchase as hours of my life.
Yeah.
But that caused me to not want anything because I would look at like a Starbucks coffee and I'd say I have to exchange 45 minutes of my life after tax to go and buy one coffee, and that coffee might last me 30 minutes.
Right.
So I'm spending 45 minutes for 30 minutes. That's a bad deal. But maybe I could buy a pair of shoes for 1 hour of my life and I get those shoes for a year. That seems like a pretty good trade-off for like physical things that last.
I went the same way as you. I went super frugal when I read it. And the other thing is, it's not about the time equation. Like some of the most enjoyable things in your life will only last 2 minutes. I'm winking at some of the guys out there.
1 minute.
1 minute. All right. So it's really about the yield on fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Like, because around that time I started thinking about like, what is it all for, right? There were lots of you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a millionaire in Lower Manhattan, right? And I'm busted at the time, and I was thinking like, well, I want to be rich before I'm 30, which I think a lot of people say that, right? And I think in that statement is kind of this understanding that the ability of them to enjoy the money or convert it into meaningful experiences declines as they age. Nobody says I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 86 or 72 or 73, right? It's always before I'm 30, Forbes 30 under 30, under 40, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some age that's below 40. And when I was walking around Lower Manhattan looking at these very wealthy traders, I was like, yeah, but what's an extra million going to do for them? I mean, what are they going to do? Drive a nicer car, their kids to school in a nicer car? Where's the fun in that, right? Because I'm a young 20-something, limbic system driving all my decisions. Like, how are you going to get any more girls with that? You can't take any girls on a yacht when you got kids and you got to drive them to school, right? But aside from my goofy thought process, like I had something right. And that was basically the utility of money declines as you age to the individual. Like I'm not an institution. I'm not like the United States of America or Swiss Bank. I'm not going to last 200, 500 years, right? I got an 86-year ride, maybe, if I'm lucky, right? And unfortunately, that ride isn't at a consistent health. It's like I'm going to reach physical maturity, mental maturity, and then I'm going to plateau and decline. And so I'm like, holy, I got to get rich fast so I can really enjoy my life. And it's like, what's the purpose of getting rich? Like in that, all those questions are going on, right? And so that's when I started to think like, wow, at a certain point, the reward goes away, right? Obviously when you die, but even before that, right? Because like you're in a nursing home and everybody's seen, they've had parents, et cetera, or grandparents that are like, can't really convert that money into meaningful experiences, right? Aside from survival. And so I was like, holy, there must be a curve. There must be a utility of money curve. And then when you start thinking about that, like, wait a minute, if you're going to go to work and exchange hours of your life for money, and then you don't convert that money into experiences, right? Whatever, and experiences in the broadest sense, choices, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's buying a watch or building bridges for poor people or et cetera, then you essentially wasted your hours of your life. And that's the only thing you got, right? And so, and I began to think about, then there must be a derivative on this. There must be a peak. If I'm supposed to spend it before I die, there must be a peak. And is that peak a number? And I'm like, wait, no, it's not a number. It doesn't matter what the number is. It doesn't matter what your net worth is. It's focused on your health and the decline rate of your health. And so your net worth peak is not a number, it's a date, right? It has to do with your health and your age. And so that's how I came to that conclusion. Very, I'm condensing it down and leaving some things out, but that's when I was like, holy, right? To be grinding it out in your 70s to make more money for a party at 80 is absurd.
Yeah.
Right. It's easy to point it out that way with those two numbers, but it's equally as absurd, what we were talking about earlier, what you're doing. Like, when I became very frugal, my boss, I saved some money on like no salary, and my boss called me a idiot. And I was like, wait, what? And I ping-ponged on autopilot to the other way. I began spending money crazy, which is not what you want to be doing either. That's not what I'm advocating for. What I'm advocating for is people to think about what are the things that fulfill them, and what they think those experiences they want to have on their way to the grave, whether it's in your 20s, 30s, 40s, et cetera, or break them down in a 5 years period. See what they are, right? And then go out and pursue those.
What would you say to the people who get more fulfillment from saving than spending?
Let's assume they're my very close friend, because I'm at the end of the day, I can't tell a addict that one's bad for them. I mean, I can tell them, right? But they're like, you got a problem. I don't have a problem.
I can stop
I feel
anytime
great,
I want
right?
to.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have a problem with my, you know what I mean? That's the people with saving, right? But at the end of the day, what I try and point out is like, it's suboptimal. Like, the point of saving, yes, there is some hedonic value to know you're doing the right thing, et cetera. But the purpose of delayed gratification indefinitely is no gratification. And unfortunately, your body has a vote, and it's going to decay, and you will not be able to get that gratification to the extent you can now. And so the purpose of working is the reward, and the reward is not the token. The token is useless. Who gives a shit? You care about the experiences that it's going to afford you, the life it's going to afford you. Like, builders don't really give a shit about hammers and saws, except to the fact that it helps them build houses. If they didn't, they'd throw them away. And so imagine you had people that are just saving money to be saving money are just collecting hammers and saws to never build a building.
What if they're collecting options in terms of they're collecting the ability to have the choice to do whatever they want?
I think that's great. And I think there is a place for saving, but those options expire just like you will. And not only will you expire, this time period will expire. So it's not just the one death you have, it's the many deaths you have, the single you, the you without kids, the you with small kids, the you with kids out of the house, the you that can actually sprint, the you that will never sprint again and for the rest of your life, right? I'm just pointing out there's lots of them, right?
Yeah.
And so in each period of your life, certain activities, choices are optimal, and in certain periods, they don't transfer well or they don't transfer at all. And so depending on who you are and what you want to have out of your life, when you get off autopilot and you think about what experiences I want to have in my life, then you can allocate your funds correctly. You can save for the things that are, you get the spend burn ratio right. But just to say I'm preserving options, like who gives a like what option you're saving for? List them to me. Tell me what they are. To have this nebulous thing is just fear-based thinking and just trying to justify it by saying I'm saving for options. I'm like, you're full of you just haven't really done the homework about your life. You haven't really thought about what you wanted out of life. And you're hiding behind this, like, I have a bunch of money thing to justify the laziness of not really getting off autopilot and thinking about what experiences you want to have in each period of your life, right? Like the purpose of the money, right, is for your fulfillment, right? And part of the fulfillment is planning the activity, doing the activity, and then reliving the activity and talking about the activity. Like before we got on, we were talking about your wedding and how you thought it was great. And he was saying, hey, you thought you could have made it better if you loosened up a little bit, right? And so when you talk about your wedding and it was great, et cetera, you're getting fulfillment from that, right? Zero cost fulfillment. How did you pay for that? You paid for it earlier when you spent the money and now you're reaping the dividends. And so if you delay gratification pretty far enough, you don't get that many memory dividends. You get less fulfillment, less high score, and less ability to do some of those activities.
Now, this might be oddly specific, but where do you draw the line for opportunity cost if you're in an area or time of your life where your time, working hours are really valuable, whereas in the future, you don't think you're going to have the same ROI as you do today?
Yeah, that's like, these calculations are tough and everybody's going to have to, that's why these like variables come in there, but you just want the mental model. Like, how am I thinking about this? This is okay. I'm 25. I can take 3 ski trips when I'm 30 or 1 ski trip now because I'm going to give time out. Like, what is a better deal for me, right? You might say, well, I'm going to be 30. I'm still physically fit, right? I don't reach physical maturity until 33. That's a great return. And I still get many years in a memory dividend. I'm going to grind it out and have 3 trips later. Plus, as a young male in your 30s, the sexual power dynamics, I'll be able to meet a lot more girls as a 30-year-old with my shit together as opposed to a 25-year-old without my shit together. So you might make that decision. When you're 60, you might not make that decision, saying 3 trips at 65 versus 1 trip now. I don't know. My knee hurts. My back hurts. This might be my last, ski trip. I might not even be able to ski. The friends that are with me that I would go that actually add to that enjoyment, they might not be around. George is 70. He might be dead, whatever it is. Like, I'm just making up these scenarios. So that thought process, right? Like, not kind of that autopilot, like, oh, I'm just going to save, just thinking it through. And so I think like a 25-year-old will have a lot of arguments and probably tilt towards like, hey, I'm going to take 3 ski trips later. And Mr. 60, 65-year-old might be no.
Yeah.